Good evening, my friends, fans, and all you amazing toy lovers. We have a big episode tonight. Warhammer 40,000, also known as Warhammer 40k. It's basically a vast and immersive science fiction franchise set in a very dystopian future. Obviously created by Games Workshop for all you aficionados, and it essentially encompasses various media, including tabletop wargaming, novels, video games, and much more. Now, the universe of Warhammer 40k is characterized by its grim and really dark atmosphere, as well as its sprawling galactic conflicts, themes that I really enjoy for science fiction. Now, in this universe, humanity struggles for survival against countless hostile alien races, demonic entities, and its own internal corruption as well. Now, don't forget, spanning across millennia, the 40k lore explores themes of war, religious fundamentalism, and perhaps a struggle for power, and the ultimate question of whether humanity's survival is worth the price. That's yeah. Well, basically, it is a rich and complex universe that captivates fans with its deep mythology, iconic factions, and chapters in which we will touch on tonight, and also, more importantly, epic battles on an unimaginable scale. So join us tonight on episode 13 of Roundtable Discussions, where we take a look at some of the new releases by Joytoy. Make sure you kick back, grab a beverage, stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.
Good evening, gents. Good evening, everyone. Did you like that sponsored message?
The music just gets me every time.
So cool. So cool.
It's so nice to see someone coming on board like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So big shout out to Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World. They are sponsoring this episode tonight. But more importantly, thank you very much to our live studio audience. We have some special guests in the studio tonight. We've got Ingrid and Katie and you gents.
As usual.
Hey, so good. I just love it. I love it. Oh, we got our first. Well, let's. Mikey Siciliano goes, let's get Warhammered. Good old Mikey. How are you going?
Mikey.
Typical form. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And always, you know what I always say? Thank you for your time and enthusiasm. What can you, I mean, this
Wouldn't
is
be dead for quids.
For you, it always comes for free.
Mate, but gosh, what are we looking at here, guys?
Man, this is one of the biggest spreads we've had on the table for a long time.
Tell me about it.
I think in your intro you said an epic scale or something like this is something that I would never have imagined. 20 years ago, growing up playing Warhammer 40k to get this is insane. So good.
This is what happens when you have the right change of management in the company. Suddenly you start to license your stuff out to third parties.
Yes.
It's just exploded.
They were very, very protective of their license for a long time, weren't they?
It wasn't. I might touch on this a little bit.
Let's do it.
I mean, to give you some background, Games Workshop started, Warhammer first came into life as Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, 1987. There was a time, the first edition of the game, Games Workshop was a very different company.
Yep.
It was filled with satire, in-jokes. It wasn't a tabletop battle game. There was a dungeon master, a games master involved. Yep. It was far more emphasis on the role-playing.
Yeah.
Games Workshop went through a management buyout. A guy called Tom Kirby raised the money to take it public.
Yeah.
He took over. And from that day forward, it was all about just selling toys, selling figures. And, they burned a lot of bridges in the 2000s, the company, and a lot of goodwill. They done some, not shady stuff, but it was growth at all costs.
Yeah.
And Eventually, he went. New guy came in. It was like night and day. Now they're open. They engage with the public.
Yeah,
They once had forums back then, but they shut them down because someone dared to criticize them on it.
that's right.
But
I
now
remember
they're
that.
open. They engage. They do a lot of fan stuff. They work with, influencers, and they finally allowed some amazing toys to come out.
Crazy. I mean, this
Here
is.
they are.
I remember speaking to Simon. I think it was pre-COVID, and we will talk about the initial releases. But this line has just exploded. Now, quickly, I also want to address some comments. Beg your pardon, Nathan. Good day. How are you going? Thanks so much for joining us.
Nathan.
Chris B. Hi, Chris. How are you going? So good of you to join us. Thank you for always giving us your support. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday. I hope you're going to be there on Sunday. So thanks for joining us.
We'll talk about that at the end.
Yep.
Sunday, Collecticon.
Definitely. Okay. So a lot to cover. I think at some point, our good old, friend over there has to jet.
Do a bit of a parental
role. That's all right. You got to do those sort of things, but that's okay. We can keep going because we have a lot, and I mean a lot to cover tonight. Simon, quickly, just tell us what we see on the table at the moment, and then we'll give people a bit of a primer.
All right.
On Warhammer.
Well, what we're looking at here is, I think you'd say it's probably only a fraction of what myself and Glenn have managed to acquire.
Yeah.
We just thought we'd bring along a little bit of a representation of some of the various factions you can get. All of these are, this is Joytoy. This line's what, 2 and a bit years old?
Yeah.
And it's just exploded. The quality, the amount of releases. Every month there's something else to look forward to.
Yeah.
They're releasing new factions. They're basically covering everyone. Give them time.
Yeah.
Look at what we're looking at here are some of the good guys, as you depend on your point of view, and some of the bad guys, depending on your point of view. There's a lot of shades of grey in the Warhammer world. There's no one who you'd really call good.
Yeah. Quickly, Chris said, "Great, I love Warhammer." Chris, thank you so much.
We are just, you'll like this one, Chris.
Just as obsessed. I know that all of us here. I mean, we all, as a group, we have quite eclectic taste in toys, right?
Right.
So it's nice. I mean, I find anything that's dark and grim I like.
But for me, Warhammer. I mean, this is one of the bigger. Like, I've been there since day one, and you know, I played a tabletop game. I paint the miniatures, and now I can put them on my shelves and have them beat up Star Wars, man.
Well, if you want fucking science fiction, you're getting it, man. Because Chris goes, "I paint, Shant plays, ha ha ha. AOS is my jam." And
Age of Sigma.
Yes, I'm hoping to pop down for a visit, but I won't be at Collecticon as a vendor this time. Oh, what's going on? That's sorry to hear, Chris. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you there. Okay. Let's look at some things. So in terms of factions, we got quite a few factions. You want to go through some of the factions quickly?
Oh yeah, sure. What we've got here, basically, you've got the Imperium of Man, which is a galaxy spanning wide human empire. They're basically hanging on by a thread most of the time. You know, the enemy without, the enemy within. They're bombarded on all sides. Bad things have been happening lately in the Warhammer universe. For many years, it was quite stagnant. You know, it was the year, 40,999, and the clock just wasn't ticking over. But as I said, with the new regime there, they've decided to start moving the story forwards. So look, what we got here are basically, these are the poster boys. I think everybody must know these. They're the Space Marines. These are people, they're taken as children from planets which are deliberately kept in a feral state. So, these guys are like tribes,
Shall we put one on the
I'm going to pop one of these ones, which are my favorite, the Imperial Fist.
Okay, let's go to that cam.
So these guys are taken as children, psycho-indoctrinated, filled full of genetic organs and steroids, and conditioned to kill in the Emperor's name. And they're ostensibly the good guys.
Yeah.
These are some ex-Space Marines who've
become
decided to forego their oaths to the Emperor and embrace the power of chaos, hence the spikes and horns, which is what chaos tends to do to you.
Yep.
These are These are the guys with the biggest balls of all of Warhammer. These are your bog standard humans who go into battle against giant mutated fungus warriors.
We will elaborate a bit on these in a minute.
Demon possessed superhuman monsters, but they get the job done by throwing 2 to 3 million people at something and letting them all die horribly until one gets through. As I said, these are the orc race. These are a race of sentient psychic funguses who are
orcs here.
About 60 million years old and used as a weapon, but out of control and just fight, live to fight.
Yep. Quick comment. Nathan Ashby says, I made attempts to get into Warhammer 40k with the Ultramarines CGI movie and the video games. He reckons it's quite dense for him. So
sure. Yeah. Well, look, it's a mishmash of. I'm not going to say there's anything hugely original. Yeah. Over time, it's come, but at the start, it was a mixture of June, Brazil, with just the mind-numbing bureaucracy, Milton's Paradise Lost, the expulsion of Lucifer from heaven with a third of the host of the angels, that sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff tied into it to make.
So what I might do is just give people a quick primer. So let's look at this, the main factions, okay? So you have the Imperium of Man. They're basically a vast human empire by the God Emperor of mankind, consisting of various factions such as Astra Militarum, Imperial Guards, Space Marines, Inquisition, and a lot more. Then you have the Chaos, forces of corruption and malevolence, representing the Chaos Gods and their followers. So you got Chaos Space Marines, you got Chaos Demons, and Renegade human factions. My favorite, then you have the Orcs, which are nice. I like the green guys, savage and warlike green skin aliens who thrive in violence and warfare, wielding very crude, devastating weaponry. Yeah. And then we have the the Eldars. You want to tell us a bit about the Eldars?
Well, I mean, the Eldar, when you get into the lore, the Eldar and the Orcs were both genetically created race by one of the first races 60 million years ago called the Old Ones, who battled the Necrons. The Necrons ended up winning, and they were masters of science and technology, where the Old Ones were masters of psychic powers and genetic engineering. So they created like the Orcs, they created the Eldar. Then they got lost. They lost and wiped out. Necrons go to sleep for 60 million years.
Yes.
For reasons we'll get into later.
Yep.
The Elder go off and, have a galactic empire that, post sort of singularity thing. No one has to work. Nothing,
We got an interesting point to make as well, that the Elders were essentially a dwindling race of psychic beings.
They've been dwindling for a very long time. They're always on the edge of extinction, but somehow manage to find just enough numbers when they need them.
Okay.
They're just going to be eternally dying.
We have the Tau Empire, the Tyranids, the Necrons, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and then we have the Gene Stealer cults, the Chaos Demons, and then we have Katie's favorite, the Sisters of Battle, the
Adeptus Sororitas. There is a lot of kind of Pig Latin stuff pulled into this.
Basically, nuns with guns, right?
Nuns with guns.
Andrew, what sort of appeals in all the factions? What do you think really takes your fancy, just at a glance? If someone looked at 40k, and what is your feeling of Warhammer and 40k?
So 40k was, I never really got into the 40k. Mine was Warhammer stuff. So I had like a massive dwarf army. But 40Ks, I don't know. Painting the miniatures has always been my thing. I've always loved painting the miniatures, and 40k is an easy miniature to paint because the mechanical sort of design to it. It makes dry brushing quite. It brings out the details really well. And if anybody does details on a miniature really well, it's Games Workshop. So. I've always loved painting the miniatures and stuff, and the customizable. You're able to customize, like the big guys. You're able to play around and put arms from this and that, and get the old green stuff out and play around with
Green
it.
stuff.
So,
So are you so far looking at this? Are you sort of pseudo convinced yet you might get into this line?
100%.
Yeah.
It's insanely good. I probably wouldn't do it myself, but through you guys, like, this is insane. This is so good to see.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Okay, let's just talk a bit more, just some brief, intros in terms of trying to initiate people with the lore. So the Tau Empire. Okay, so we talked about the Eldars. They were sort of dwindling psychic being race of beings. The Tau Empire are a relatively new and technologically advanced faction that ultimately strive for unity and the greater good, but they're led by the ethereal caste and backed by a formidable battle suit. So you want to elaborate a bit on that?
The Tau are interesting. They're a pretty much young upstart race.
Yep.
Strangely enough, they appeared basically when Games Workshop really wanted to push heavily into Japan and the Eastern market.
Yeah,
the sort of
good point.
Gundamness of them. But 8,000 years ago from the present setting of Warhammer, there was a world with a couple of some Stone Age race, an explorator ship went past, marked it down. Yeah, okay, come back. Wipe those out. We'll put a colony there. Ultimately, they went on, kept going on their thing. That star system got cut off by warp storms. I'll get into that a bit later.
Okay.
So no one could penetrate it. When the warp storms passed, like 8,000 years later, they found that there was this race of incredibly technologically advanced. Like in 8,000 years, they were like had interstellar transports and stuff, and they've got this thing called the greater good, a little bit socialist. At the start, they were ostensibly very much the good guys, but it turns out they're not as good as you might have thought. But they think they've got all the answers, but they're only taking their first footsteps out into the wider universe, and they're finding that it's not as nice a place as they thought it was going to be.
We got Chris that agreed with you, Andrew. She said, totally agree. So easy to paint companies to AOS. They're insanely detailed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Compared, beg your pardon.
And in that theme, Space Marines all look really great, all painted up and all that sort of stuff. But the Tau, I don't know, there's something about them that real energetic, you get the neon paints in the gaps and stuff like that. And they're, the big pyramid motor things they've got, they look great.
They look great.
Up.
I mean, you'd be very pleased to know that the Tau are a race you can easily get now for Joytoy.
Very good.
They got the battle suits, the crisis suits, all
awesome.
of
To see that.
Before we continue, we just have 13 seconds of our sponsor tonight. Once again, thanks. Cool
Toys Club.
We'll be right back after these messages.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.
Don't you love that? Good bunch of guys. So they're obviously sponsoring this particular episode, and proudly brought to you by them. So give them a check out.
Doing a great job.
They're doing a very good job.
Definitely an incredible selection of the latest Warhammer Joytoy stuff. And other stuff you might find. But
absolutely. Okay, we got some Imperial Fist. We'll get to those things, but I want to go through the Tyranids as well. So Tyranids and another faction. We don't have any Tyranids here. Do you think
they haven't released any Tyranids yet?
That's right. So
I'm sure they will.
So the Tyranids are basically an alien species of relentless bioforms. They're known as bioforms, driven by a hive sort of mentality.
Hive
mentality, consuming everything. We would say in their path for their insatiable.
They literally do. They eat everything because all of their race is bioengineered. Like it is like an insect hive mind, like termites. Each creature has no individual will or sentience. I don't know. The Borg is probably a good analogy.
Correct. And as well as maybe the xenomorphs. They've got that sort
somewhere
of
between the Borg and aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the most original concept, but it works well. And with their twist.
Do you know, if you recall, McFarlane actually did release a couple of they made it 6-inch versions, but they did make the Tyranids, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes,
they done the Gene Stealer, which is a mechanism. I know we both got into the 40k, the McFarlane stuff. We dabbled in that for a little bit. I did like the fact they done the unpainted figures, but
artist proof.
They're too big. Yeah, they're too big.
That's the problem. Takes up too much space.
Space is
But the
premium.
ability to paint your own figures is like,
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh,
I
the
know.
amount of customs you'll see online, and some people have just taken it to the next level.
Actually, you paint a lot of stuff yourself.
I do. I don't
Yeah.
mind doing the
Yeah.
odd, like so I've done a few tabletop games, or I've had to paint the miniatures and stuff.
Yeah.
It's something that I would never have the time to do now, especially armies of them. It's just, but I don't know, Games Workshop stuff, I've always loved painting them. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe let's put something else that's different, and I'll
Let's have a look.
maybe through another bunch of factions.
Well, I
as well.
know our number one super fan, Talon, would love to see another Space Marine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know he's always raving on. This is one of the Black Templars.
Okay. Let's check it out. Oh, we got that little crossfade now. Let's have a look. See whether it's no. Simon needs to get with the. All right, are we ready? Good. Let's cut to camera 4. There we go. And okay, so they are lovely painted figures. I mean, at this, I guess you pay for what you get.
There's certainly a great level of detail in the paint jobs on this. Like, if
Yeah.
you're talking about the price on one of these, compare this to your average Marvel Legend or a Black Series.
Mm.
Now, those don't have anywhere near the detail in the paint
Or the
jobs. Or the
accessories.
accessories.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I don't think, what are you paying now in Australia? $50?
Yeah, close to it.
This is $10, $15, $20 more.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, certainly with all the articulation as well,
And the
then things
weaponry and
the
Where else are
weaponry
you going to
and
get a
accessory.
figure that's wearing one of his mate's skeletons as a back?
So
Yeah.
good. So
you
good.
know?
We got a comment here from Christian: to have way more fun to base coat them before painting. Always love to delete ultramarine iconography from existence. Okay, quickly, I'm going to go through a few more factions. So the Necrons, which we will unbox, because
We've
that
got
was
a few
have a few.
Necrons, yeah.
those are new releases. So really, again, thanks to Cool Toys Club, they sent those Necrons, and we've got a few more things. But the Necrons are essentially an ancient robotic beings of incredible power, awakened from slumber to reclaim their lost empire and eradicate all other forms of life in the process. So that's in a nutshell what the Necrons are. Then we have the Adeptus Mechanicus.
We haven't got any of those yet.
We
They
don't
haven't
have-
announced any, but I'm sure they're not far away. Like a cargo cult of humanity that worships machinery.
Machine
Doesn't
god.
quite know how it works, but
Yeah.
they're very enthusiastic about it. And God help you if you mess with a machine.
And they specialize in advanced technology and cybernetics.
Exactly. They're the custodians of technology. No one basically, everything got to a point in the past where it was so advanced, no one knows how it works anymore. And then you have a couple of galaxy shattering falls of mankind, rebuild and fall again, rebuild. They've got machines. They haven't got a clue how they work. All they know, if they press the button, lasers shoot out the end. But
Crazy.
what makes it happen, they're not quite sure anymore.
Crazy. Let's put something else on the turntable, and we'll see what else.
We've seen a couple of humans. How about we put, this is one of the Orc Commandos. This is the boss man.
Love my
with his
orcs.
giant claw.
Love my orcs. I love the orcs. Okay, few more basic. Just the quick primer. We have I did say the Adeptus Mechanicus. We don't have any of those. Then we have the Gene Stealer cults. Secretive, insidious factions that infect other species.
Yeah.
With the Green Stealer DNAs working towards an eventual arrival of the Tyranid hive fleets.
They're forerunners.
Yes.
They travel, on spaceships,
Yeah.
like a virus, get on planets, infect people. Those people become under the sway of the hive mind. When the Tyranid fleets come closer, there'll be like the saboteurs who will bring down defense grids, power stations, just to soften up the planet. Of course,
Yep.
they're under the impression that they're about to be taken into space by star gods, but they just end up being digested in pools, and their organic matter taken up in spaceships to make more Tyranids.
Very good.
Suckers.
Sucked in. Okay, then we also have the Chaos Demons, otherworldly entities spawned from the warp, serving the Chaos gods and embodying aspects of all their respective powers. Tell us a bit about that.
How to explain the warp? If you've ever seen the film Event Horizon, consider that a very early Warhammer. That's what happens when you travel through warp space without a protective Geller field. The warp is the mirror to our universe. It's like it's made of emotion. It makes sense to me, but actually, now that I'm trying to describe it,
Psychologically,
it sounds a little bit odd.
Yeah.
But emotion, sensation, they all echo in the warp. Like, being in love creates an echo.
Yes.
But when these things get pushed to their extremes, they make bigger ripples in the pool. So going around murdering people ended up creating a demon called Korn, who is the god of murder. The warp is just human emotion, just perverted. So you've got Slanesh, the god of lust. You've got Nurgle, the god of despair. And you've got Zinch, the god of change. They represent despair, hope, martial honor, all good things twisted.
Yeah.
And these have become sentient and are starting to influence our world or the normal universe.
Yep. Okay. Andrew, just on the table now, what would you say if you were to get into it? What would be the absolutely must-have to start with?
The dude on the red,
the squig.
Orc. Yeah, 100%.
The squig. Okay, he loves the squig.
100%.
Can we pop him?
Yes,
people
will he get on there?
Let's see if he can get on there. We've got to be really
He's
careful.
Insane.
Maybe the squig. Oh, I don't know.
Like, no, he
Spin and
should
take out
That's
a
all right. That's right.
sister.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
We'll take the battle
done.
sisters out.
It's not that these don't stand well; they do. It's just that we've got so many of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
really tried to
insane.
pack in everything we could on the table.
We did.
But even like the highlights, like all of the stitching and stuff, exactly the way you would paint it.
Well,
as a
that's
miniature.
the thing. Each one of these figures is actually based on a Warhammer model, like a specific Warhammer model.
Yeah.
They haven't done any of their own designs yet,
Okay.
but it's probably just a matter of time.
They look great.
But then again, they could keep going for years and not get through the catalog.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then last but not least, we have the Adepta Sororitas. Sororitas.
Yeah.
Yes. Battle sisters are battle. Okay. So let's
basically nuns.
Let's put a battle sister up there. Let's put the squig back here. And then I'm going to get Simon to elaborate a bit about the nuns. Actually, I'm going to hang on. So we'll get the standard. Let's get the standard away. Put it on the box. I'll put this guy down because he does stand. I'm going to go and tweak that one camera over there. I'll let you guys. We'll cut to this camera, and that's a battle sister. All right, Simon, give us a good rundown on.
Okay, well,
on
battle sisters are just normal human women who believe very heartily in the Emperor's divinity. And that belief lets them do miracles on the battlefield. But there's not much more to say about them than that. They're the militant arm of the church, or the ecclesiarchy as it's known. There is only one religion in the Imperium of Man, and if you don't believe in it, you get killed. There's not a lot of room for, religious dissent there. In fact, there's no room for any dissent.
That's it.
Any sort of dissent is likely to have your planet blown up.
There you go.
But they've got a million of them, so
that's right.
There's always more where that came from. There's trillions and trillions of humans out there alive in this universe.
Battle sisters.
So
nuns.
Life is extremely cheap in Warhammer.
Nuns with guns. I love it. Okay.
Also, we do have the standard bearer, which is absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
However, it's a little unwieldy.
Yes.
This weighs a ton.
Yeah.
These female figures are quite light. I think you'd need to try and brace that somehow. But
yeah. Yep. Cool.
Pop that down.
So Andrew's definitely into the orcs and the squig.
Yeah, love it.
I think that's something about the orcs. I've always loved in any sort of sword and sorcery, folklore, fantasy, science fiction. The orcs just seem to have this ubiquitous kind of presence in every, theme. I don't know. It's like.
Well, I mean, the orcs in Warhammer are basically, like I said, when the first version of the game came along, it was very full of satire, a lot of in-jokes. There was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek tone. Yep. These were basically English soccer hooligans in space.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I love
Just
it.
running riot, punching on. They live to fight. It is literally what they do. When they fight and win, they get bigger and bigger. They were created as a warrior race. They're very tough to kill. As I said, they're based on fungus, so you've literally got to chop them into pieces to kill one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's get on with the unboxings, shall we? Because we have some, again, new releases. The standard there is we maybe have to move this guy. So let's look at maybe the Necrons, because
let's crack some Necrons.
Let's crack Andrew. You pop off.
So what have we got here? Let's just talk about what we've got. So out of the Necrons.
All right.
We've got some Immortals with various weapons. Now the Immortals are your heavier sort of trooper. And these guys have no personalities anymore. 60 million years ago, they were tricked by some evil star gods into giving up their bodies for these undying metal forms.
Giving up? Would you give up your body? I'll give mine up.
I don't know. If I was being given a Necron body, maybe
at this age.
Yeah, now
this body's
the way my knee felt this morning in the cold. I'll gladly swap.
100%.
Oh, okay.
So the Immortals are your heavier weapons troops. If you want to pop open one of them,
I'll crack them.
Crack one open.
We've got the Death Marks, who are basically your snipers, who shoot you from another dimension, a hyper dimension.
Well, let's open a Zarakan and what do you call it? A Sortek.
That's right. So you've got different dynasties. If you try and picture it more like Egyptians in space, undead Egyptians in space is probably the basis for it. So you've got different dynasties.
So you've got the Zarakan. He's going Zarakan.
Zarakan. These are also Zarakan.
Let's do a Sortek. Why don't you
do a Sortek?
Sortek. As you guys are doing that, let's get one Necron out, put it up on the turntable, and we can show our audience what we've got here.
So this is the sort of stuff you're going to get in the pack when you open them. Now, a lot of them come with quite a bit of accessories. I guess the Necrons not so much.
We're just going to make sure when we open those things, crap doesn't fly everywhere.
Don't lose little hands.
Yeah. So okay, let's put a Necron. Let's maybe take that Battle Sister away. We'll put a Necron on.
Let's get this bad boy.
Wow. What did you think of the? I thought the Necrons that McFarlane did were pretty damn freaking good.
Oh, for sure. There's nothing wrong with them. They were a very cool figure.
Yeah. They were really certainly very.
I mean, I did buy in the line, and if anyone's at Collecticon at Cambridge Park, they can buy into the line too. Because
okay, it's time for the best time for the plug. Quick, come on, tell us.
So I've got a ton of McFarlane Space Marine stuff. If anyone's interested, what else we selling? We got third-party stuff. We got Marvel Legends. We got Star Wars. You got Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I think I'll have a Thundercat Super 7 Thunder Tank for sale.
Ooh.
Also, we'll have
HasLab Galactus will be there if anyone's interested.
Which everyone should have a HasLab Galactus.
Everyone should have a HasLab Galactus.
And also,
we're selling it at a fantastically low price.
And also a Sentinel.
Yeah, we got a lot of the HasLab stuff. You've got a Razor Crest too.
That went last. So that was sold.
If anyone's interested, there might even be a Unicron if they want to contact the Toy Reel page beforehand, because I do not want to drag it down there for nothing.
You've been told.
He's a monster.
You've been told. Okay, let's put. How can we maybe
look
put
at this guy?
Can we put a Zarakan and a Sortek side by side, back to back? And okay, let's go. Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to quickly just give people a bit of a primer between the two dynasties as far as the Sortek dynasty and different ways of pronouncing dynasty. I don't know what the hell. So Sortek, they're basically known as the Pharaoh's dynasty.
Like a pharaoh.
The pharaoh. Yeah, it's very
Egyptian.
Very Egyptian. Yep. Is one of the most powerful, influential Necron dynasties in the Warhammer 40k universe. They were led by the ruthless and ambitious Pharaon. Well, now you got to tell us about Imhotep the Stormlord.
Well, Imhotep the Stormlord was a legendary warrior. See, what I think we should point out is that the Necrons have gone to sleep for 60 million years.
Yeah.
At the time, they'd won their big war against the old ones. Then they turned around and fought the star gods, who tricked them into giving up their bodies. They beat them. splintered them, trapped them like Pokemon in balls, which they use to power things now. That's not a joke. That's actually what they do. Then they decided that they would go into hibernation for quite some time and repair themselves, get fixed up, and wait for the galaxy to sort of mend itself. Like I said, these guys were using weapons that destroyed entire solar systems, ripped holes in space-time. Things that unimaginable. Whole vast sections of the universe were laid waste. Yeah. So they went back to sleep for a while, went into hibernation to wait for things to get fixed. In that time, the universe turned out as it did. Humanity pops up and has reared its head, and now the Necrons, the Tomb Worlds, are starting to awake again, and they're finding like a lot of people have decided to build cities on their worlds as they come up from underground. And anyway, they're starting to put their stamp on the galaxy again now. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Sortek Dynasty Necrons were very much characterized by their sort of strategic prowess and advanced technological capabilities. Now, they primarily excelled in what we would call large-scale warfare, utilizing precise battlefield coordination, superior tactics, and also overwhelming firepower to essentially blow their enemies away. Now, Sortek Necrons often field formidable war machines such as Doomsday Arcs. And what do you want to talk about the Doomsday Arc? The Doomsday Arc is, it's just basically just your run-of-the-mill, incredibly advanced, high-tech, floating Doomsday cannon that can destroy anything. And their barges as well. The barges that carried Necron warriors into battle. Yeah. Tell us a bit about. So they were very renowned for what they call Gauss or Gauss weaponry? Gauss weaponry. Okay, tell us a bit about that. Well, Gauss weaponry is a beam that it just disrupts the molecular bonds between atoms. Yeah. And basically it flays people alive layer by layer, and horrible weapons. What are your thoughts, Andrew, on those Necrons?
This is exactly the sort of thing that you want. Little robots that you can have a absolutely crap ton of them and paint them quickly and get them on the board. I was saying to Clinton, I've got to pick and choose which factions I go for because I don't have the space to everything. No, I'm not going to bother with the Necrons, but damn you, Clinton! Look at it now. They look amazing.
I'm in on the Necrons now. I think he's got to get some. Quickly, comments. Dicky Strike, yo, buddy, how are you going? Thanks for joining us tonight. We will see you on Sunday, by the way. Dicky actually owns a toy shop. Freaky Dicky Toys. Yeah. So Dicky, and he actually says that he's been collecting Warhammer since 1998 with the WHFB. AOS is mostly my jam these days. With the Soulblight Gravelords, but love my Night Lords and Flesh Terrors for 40k. Very nice, very nice. What he's referring to is Warhammer Fantasy Battle, which was the fantasy version of 40k. Yep. Ended up getting a big reboot to Age of Sigmar.
Has Joytoy talked about doing fantasy at all?
No, but
I'll tell you what, if they bring out
I could imagine it could be on the cards. I could imagine it could be on the cards.
Gone.
Well,
gone. If they bring out fantasy dwarves
now, they're the Caradron overlords who go around in their zeppelins.
That's what I'm saying. If they start bringing out zeppelins, they start bringing out like the war vehicles for.
They've just reintroduced Space Dwarves.
Take my house. Take my house right now.
Remember the Space Dwarves?
Yeah.
They're back.
Yeah. Oh, really?
The League of Votan, they're called now. Okay. They've just come out.
Crazy. Or if they do Blood Bowl as well.
Oh, Blood Bowl figures.
Gone.
These are just some of the other properties that Games Workshop.
But I'm just here salivating, looking at Necrons, and they look good. Damn, they look good. Okay,
they do look good.
So Sortek Dynasty Necrons also prioritize conquest and expansion, seeking to reclaim lost territory and assert their dominance in the galaxy. So that's the Sortek Necrons. On the turntable, you will also see an example of a Zarakan Dynasty Necron. Just to give you a bit of a primer before our good old mate here decides to jet out the door.
Yeah.
The Zarakan dynasty is an ancient and proud Necron dynasty that has reawakened from eons of slumber, led by the enigmatic Silent King Zarek. They were they're the only dynasty to have maintained some semblance of unity in organization. The Zerakan Necrons have a more interesting, more diplomatic and cautious approach compared to the other dynasties around as well, and quite surprisingly open to alliances and negotiations, given the nature of Necrons, willing to work with other factions against common threats. Through their true motives often remain somewhat questionable and shrouded.
It's one of those the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing. Sometimes.
Yeah. So Zerakan Necrons possess exceptional levels of discipline and focus, with an emphasis on precise and calculated strikes. They prioritize and the recovery and the preservation of Necron technology. They seek always to reclaim and restore their lost knowledge. They're also known for their elite and highly skilled Triarch Praetorians. Tell us a bit about the Triarch Praetorians.
Triarch Praetorians are basically a sort of elite guard who guard the Pharaons.
Yeah. Who also serve as personal guards to the Silent King.
The higher up the food chain you go, the closer that they have to actual personalities. Whereas the very top, their minds are exactly what they were before, what they call biotransference, when they were put in the metal bodies. These guys are just slave robots, Dude gives a command, they do it.
And speaking of technology and weapons, they possess unique technologies such as the particle caster, which can disrupt a lot of energy fields and render them vulnerable.
The Necrons are the most advanced race in the game.
Okay, so
I thought I'd pop one of these guys on. This is another one of the Sautek dynasty. This is what's called a death mark. These are basically your sniper types.
Try and get him to stand, man. Yeah,
one-handed.
Andrew, you're going to leave us. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah,
got some parental duties on, but it's awesome. I love this stuff. So thanks for inviting me.
No problem.
Clinton said you could take one of these.
No, because if I take that, then I'll have to buy more. I don't want to do that. You'll see me if they bring out fantasy stuff. I'll be gone. But anyway,
you'll get into it.
100%.
No worries.
All right, fellas. Thank you very much.
So,
Andrew.
Yeah. I'll mute Andy and get him to take his thing off.
So
but
we've got the three types of Necron. Well, we've got two dynasties, but we've got sort of equal amounts. So we've got Death Mark. You saw the basic, what we call him. He's an upped trooper. He's a little more senior. He's got a very big gun.
Okay.
These are and what we have here is one of the overlords. These are your leaders.
We're going to put the overlord on there.
So we're going to have a look at that.
While we wait for Simon to whip out the overlord. So basically, let's quickly just do a recap again. I'm going to just mute Simon while he's getting that out. The quick recap. The key differences between the Sautek dynasty and the Zerakan Necrons is that the Sautek really essentially focus on conquest and overwhelming firepower, whereas the Zerakans take more of a diplomatic approach, prioritizing the recovery of technology and normally adopt a very calculated approach to warfare. So there you go, guys. So you get a bit of a primer. Right now, Joytoy have released only these two Necron types, and they're currently available through this website here and this vendor. So just stand by, and we'll be right back.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.
Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World. What a bunch of... They're probably watching tonight as well. So now we got an empty seat over there. That's all right. The two of us, like pigs in shit. What else? I mean, look at that.
Look at that. I mean, I don't know if anyone heard me, but I literally said, wow, when I started pulling that out of the box.
Yeah.
As you can see, he's a lot more decorative. He's bigger. He stands out as going to be a leader type.
That is awesome.
He's got a tachyon arrow on his arm, which doesn't obey the laws of physics and can shoot through time. This blade, wow, there's really nothing it can cut through. Time, space, people, any of that sort of thing.
That is awesome. I mean, what are your thoughts on? I mean, it must be incredibly difficult to decide what to release in the roadmap for a toy company. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean,
what do people want first, and what
it's going to be your Marine.
Yeah,
From a business point of view, you release a Marine,
bread and butter.
you can repaint that in so many different colors. Like, if you don't like Imperial Fists, you might like Black Templars. If you don't like Black Templars, well, maybe the Ultramarines are your boy. There's the Blood Angels, Raven Guard, Iron Hands, Salamanders are coming out now. They are literally touching on every faction. They've started doing more of the Chaos. These were the Black Legion. These are sort of the poster boy bad guys, you know. They're doing the Crimson Slaughter, which are, you know, these guys don't worship any one of the Chaos gods.
Yeah.
They sort of take a little bit. In fact, they look down on those who do, but they will utilize their power. Where the Crimson Slaughter are just corn madmen. These are just berserkers. They don't even use guns. They'll just try and run at you in their giant tank armor and tear you apart with their
Goddamn,
hands.
those Necrons look so freaking good.
Man, they do look good.
Do you want them now?
I do want them, and I'm going to get them. But they've just got such a lovely, unique silhouette.
Nice feel, yeah. Yeah, amazing. I mean, the only thing I got to say, some of these things can be a bit fiddly, particularly when I was, taking some of these out of the boxes before. They can. Hey, I want to, by the way, speaking of repaints and sculpts, hey, look at what's been released now.
Yeah. Look at it all.
No, but we remember, our biggest fan, Talon. Yeah.
Talon loves Space Marines.
He loves it.
He cannot get enough. He's always going, Simon, have you got any more of those Space Marines? And I always say to him, when my order comes in from Cool Toys Club, maybe I will. Maybe I will.
He loves it. He
cannot wait. He's always around my house, banging on my door, calling me up. I want them Space Marines, Simon. I want them. Loves them.
Classic.
Anyway, he'll be able to get hands-on on Sunday.
So we did have all the Necrons. Oh, there's one here. You want to put that up there as well?
Pop a couple of these guys up.
Okay, maybe Katie may have to come into frame and see if she can pick one up and put one. That's always going to happen. That's all good. There we go.
We should probably show the scale. This is a basic human. This is like someone like you or me in the Warhammer world. This is, can you imagine having a fight, this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Crazy. That's why I say these are the bravest characters in all of Warhammer. They got nothing more than a gun that shoots a very weak laser.
Mikey Siciliano goes, these Space Marines are simply the best. Rest in peace, Tina Turner.
I've often wondered on the Tina Turner Warhammer.
Mikey,
connection.
you're a funny bastard. Okay. Let's look at the Death Court. Death Courts of Craig. Let's just look at that one now. You've got one up. I'm gonna
pop the Necrons down.
Pop the Necrons down. Pop them down. And I'm gonna give people a bit of a prime on that. You can maybe put a few more, but you got to be really careful. Yeah. See whether we can put a few more. Oh, there he is. Thank you.
So there we got they came out a couple of months ago with like a unit of Kree corpsmen. These are, as I said, these are your basic humans. You've got 1 million worlds. Each world has to provide a tithe of men each, so often to go.
Let me put another one. Let's put the sergeant. Oh, that's the medic.
The medic.
Okay. Yeah, let's put the medic.
We'll put these guys close so everyone can see them around.
Yeah. They tell me what you think. They're very reminiscent of what?
Oh, very sort of World War
Berlin 38 German. Yeah, definitely. Look, the Corps of Craig is a renowned and unique regiment within the Astra Militarum.
The Astra Militarum. See, they used to be called the Imperial Guard, but Astra Militarum is far more trademark friendly.
Correct. So the faction of the 40k universe, hailing from the desolate and toxic world of Craig, the Death Corps soldiers are known for their unwavering discipline, very sort of grim determination and willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. In a nutshell, they sort of embody the essence of attritional warfare.
As I said, the trench warfare tactics of World War One.
Yeah,
they may be dead now in our time, but believe me, when you're marching 200 million men onto a planet, it works really well when you just steamroller people.
And they're like, but to me also, when you think about, the the Imperial Guard or even the Astra, they're like cannon fodder basically.
As far as the Imperium's concerned, that shovel is worth more than that man's life.
I know.
That's not a joke.
Yes, exactly.
They've got an endless supply. Like you've got 1 million worlds. Some of these worlds, what they call hive worlds, which are literally there is no green space, no ocean.
Yes.
It is completely covered over with cities. It is the entire planet. There's like worlds with like 100, 200 billion people living all on top of one another.
Quickly, before we carry on, I want to get you to start opening the custodians.
I've been looking forward
and I tell
to
you,
this.
I tell you why, because they again are courtesy of the club, Cool Toys Club, and we will be right back shortly after the sponsor message.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.
Yeah. No, he's yeah, you're getting me to smell a box. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So as Simon, I'm going to mute Simon for a minute while he opens the custodies, and I'm going to sort of elaborate a bit more on the Death Corps of Craig. Now, their soldiers of the Death Corps sort of wore very distinctive gas masks, as you can see, and trench coats reflecting sort of the very hazardous conditions of their homeworld. They're primarily focused on artillery and infantry warfare. That's why I said before, very typical foot soldiers, cannon fodder, utilizing mass ranks and specialized siege equipment, and relentless artillery barrages to crush their enemies. Now, how successful they were, I don't. Well, it's quite subjective. Now, the Death Corps combat doctrine revolves around unyielding assaults and stoic defense. Unafraid of even the highest casualties. I mean, they were definitely unafraid, right? So they, like I said again, they were just fucking brought to the lambs to the slaughter. The grim and uncompromising nature has earned them a very fearsome reputation throughout the Imperium, and the Death Corps of Craig exemplify the dark and relentless spirit of the Warhammer 40k universe, embodying the adage that is in the grim darkness of the far future we know, which is only war. Only war, Simon. Only freaking war. So that is, in a nutshell, what the Death Corps are. And human faction.
Sorry, yeah. I know you were saying something, but I have to say it. Holy
crap.
This is magnificent.
Okay. We're done. But by the way, this is a new release.
This is coming. A new release. These guys are just out. We got these from Cool Toy Club today. These came in.
Yep.
Now these guys, they say the Space Marines are the elite, but what a Space Marine is to a man, this guy is to a Space Marine. These were the Emperor's bodyguards. These were able to Space Marines were able to sort of be mass produced, and they were needed for what was called the Great Crusade. When the Emperor arose 10,000 years ago, he reunited an Earth that was just filled with tribal warfare, ravaged. He reunited Earth, rediscovered some lost technology, and then set about reclaiming humanity's empire. Humanity at certain stages had spanned the universe. But there was like an AI revolt, which crashed everything. Then came the rise of psychic powers. Some of the byproducts of that, created what they call warp storms, where whole stations, star systems were shut off. Anyway, it was not a good time for the human race. They were splintered, fell apart. And the Emperor set about creating an army that could rediscover all the lost worlds of man. Now, these guys, these were the Emperor's bodyguards. These were his chosen, like the epitome of genetic engineering. Like each one of these, cost a planet to make one of these guys to create them. Are you going to get some of these?
Damn you. Just like as you said, like we're looking.
There's nothing like a pair of enablers enabling one another, is there?
But
look at it. Look at the paint job on
let's
this.
get those guys off.
Bye-bye, Krieg.
Bye-bye, Krieg.
The Krieg are bad. It's just that these guys are so damn good.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So let's put this up on the turntable and get let's have a look at them. Incredible. Let's get them to stand first. So are they custodes or custodies?
Custodes. I don't know. No one who used the language at the time is alive to tell us the correct pronunciation.
Let's check that baby out. I mean, look at that.
Look at this monster. The paint job is amazing. Like, he's got golden armor, but it's got a really lovely, soft silver dry brush to give it some age.
Yeah. Amazing.
Like I said, for a
let's put him in the middle of the turntable.
I suppose it's somewhere between.
Thank you.
I wouldn't say it was a retail toy. You're not going to find this on many shelves.
This is so not retail,
but it's still an adult collectible. But just the attention to detail on the paint jobs alone is just amazing.
Incredible.
Amazing on this level.
Yeah.
You know, on a production line sort of thing, doing this sort of work.
Mikey, can the Blue Space Marines represent Carlton?
Can you tell Mikey that he no longer has any space on my table at the show? He can go and sell his stuff in the car park out the front. No one besmirches a Space Marine on my watch.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just be right back after this 13-second message. We'll be right back.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.
Okay, so man, we got some amazing pieces here. I mean, look at all the battle standards, the even the Aquila designs on some of these things. Can you tell us a bit about that Aquila design for, again, the Custodes? So
okay, the Aquila, the double-headed eagle represents the Imperium.
Yeah.
One head represents the Mechanicum, and the other head represents the Imperium.
Yeah.
The Mechanicum lived on Mars. When the Emperor first left Earth, he forged a pact with the Mechanicum to supply weapons, armor, spaceships, and in return he allowed them sorts of freedoms. But it was and that's the Imperium. It's based on the might of the armies and the might of the technology.
Yeah. Okay. That is. And how many did you get? You got.
Well, I got 3 with this one. I'll show off this. So this is the captain. This is Shield Captain. He's wearing Terminator armor. So this is a heavier form of armor. This is, for example, what this guy's wearing, or these two. But this is a more advanced version.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll do the Custodes in the lighter armor too.
Yeah. I like that.
Look at that. It stands, these are magnificent.
They're beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. We got a comment. Let's see what funny comment. Oh, okay. Who's the big yellow guy like me, Mikey? Me. You like the big yellow guy? We will talk about the big yellow guy in a minute.
Shall I talk about the big yellow guy and the big black guy over here?
We will in a minute, because we need to get through the orcs. But I want to come back to the Custodes as well. But we definitely will talk about these.
Well, I think this brings up a good point. A sort of the accessories. There's actually vehicles in this line.
Yeah, we will. But we need to actually go through the orcs. So I want to say once again. So the pieces that came in were the Necrons, the Custodes, and the Battle Sisters as well. So
we've also got something very cool there, which is sort of a powered suit, which we'll have a look at in a little bit.
Yes, definitely, because that's a new release, and that's something. And that's something that's come in. So let's put an orc on the turntable, and I'm going to give people a quick primer on the orc commandos. So we got your grunty orcs, which.
This one is one of my favorites from this line. I do love the skull face flamethrower. Actually, he's probably going to be a bit too big and knock everyone over. So I'll try someone just a wee bit smaller there.
There we go.
Basic Orky boy.
There we go. So, okay. The Orc Commandos are specialized units within the Orc faction of 40k. Unlike the typical loud and boisterous ones, standard ones, what you call them, Commandos are stealthy and cunning, specializing in a lot of covert operations, sabotage and ambush tactics. These are sneaky bastards, these guys, fucking sneaky. They are the sneaky infiltrators of Orc society, as I said, utilizing their natural affinity to guerrilla warfare to strike at any enemy weak points. Now, these Commandos with a K basically scavengers. Okay, often fashioning a lot of makeshift, and then you can see also with the design, makeshift camouflage using sort of stealth technology to blend into their surroundings. These guys actually excel really well in close quarters combat, which is, well, close quarters combat. Yeah, it's like the flayers, Necron flayers.
They love to get up close and punch, smash, and chop.
That's right. I mean, because by nature, and I digress slightly, because Necrons are not really. It's the flayers that are close quarters that are better.
The flayers, yeah, but that's probably getting a bit too deep. That's a virus that affects Necrons and drives them mad. And
okay, so they excel at close quarters combat, wielding deadly melee weapons like knives, choppers, and explosives, etc., etc. In battle, they strike from the shadows, so to speak, inflicting chaos and confusion. They like to, it's like shock and awe, right? Among their foes before disappearing into the darkness to plan their next strike. A bit hard to, well, look at how brute they are. They're just big. They don't come across as being quite stealthy.
Well, I think what you have to remember is that this is all based on a tabletop game.
Yes.
And like each faction has to be able to win at some point. You know, where if you're playing your friend, you don't want an army who's always getting beaten by every army. So every army has their strengths and weaknesses. Some are better at shooting, weak at close quarters combat. Some are weak at shooting, better at close quarters combat, and vice versa. So everyone should have a sort of reasonable chance of. It comes down to the player, not the pieces.
Yeah. Speaking again of recycling bucks. I mean, these are all different designs. So there you go, Talon.
I mean, generally, I mean, there's
it's a new mold, it's a new sculpt. It's the
economics of a line means like the Space Marine repaints aren't going to be a backbone.
Yeah,
like I said, they're the poster boy. They're on the cover of all the books,
and they're bread and butter.
And because they are so versatile.
Yeah.
But even amongst them, there's lots of differences, lots of accessories. Because they're not so much soldiers. If you've got to picture them more like a knightly order, like Knights Templar type things.
Yeah.
They're steeped in tradition. They're highly religious. They worship the emperor. They actually believe. It's hard to explain, but
we will.
There's so much psychic energy floating around.
We will.
If you start to believe a gun is special, it will become special over years.
To me, what really was indicative and exemplified the prowess and the strength of a Marine was that short animated film that you showed me.
Astartes. If anyone wants to go on YouTube, Astartes.
Incredible.
It was a fan-made film. It ended up getting them a job with Games Workshop to do more animations.
Yeah.
But it's what, a minute and a half.
For one segment? I thought it was longer than that.
There were a couple of segments.
Parts?
If you join it all together, it's probably about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Like, incredible.
The animation was spot on, but it just gave you an idea of the power. None of them were running. It was just the pace they moved at. Every shot, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I'm just going to finish up on the Orcs. They operate independently or in small squads. Fairly unpredictable in their nature, makes them sort of a very formidable and challenging adversary for their enemies. And these commandos here embody the Orc love for violence and mayhem. Methods of Mayhem. Actually, speaking of mayhem, did you remember Methods of Mayhem by Tommy Lee?
That was his solo?
It was definitely his solo record. Methods of Mayhem. I loved it. I had the record. It was awesome.
Was that early 2000s?
Yes.
Or late 90s?
Yeah, I think it was late 90s. Maybe. I can't remember. I actually had
definitely the Pamela Anderson time.
I had the record. But with a twist of cunning and subtle fudge that sets them apart from their more straightforward brethren. So there you go, Orc Commandos. Now, I'm going to get Simon to open the Paragon suit. And
I've been looking forward to this.
While he's doing that, I just want to, can we do a favor? Can we, before you do the Paragon suit, let's put a Marine on there before I explain some things. Okay, so maybe let's put one of the initial intercessors on there. The guy carrying his gun. See that one? That one with his arm, his That's right. That's
This
right.
one?
Yeah, that's it. Put it up there. Oh, what happened? Oh, sorry. Sorry, we had a little freak out there for a minute because I thought that okay, the battery. That's right. That's okay. So
OMG.
that's all right. So here you see, I might have to just quickly, just give me a sec, guys. I'm going to readjust the camera. Simon, I'm going to get you to quickly talk about maybe
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the initial release.
So the initial release where Joytoy, this was probably about, I want to say just prior to COVID, or like it was about 2 years, or
yeah.
So they came out, they released the Space Marines. I guess the widest faction, they've pretty much concentrated on doing every Space Marine release for Ultramarines. So they've got all the different troop types in the blue armor so far. These guys don't have quite as an expansive line as the Ultramarines, but this is where the line started. This is probably, I think they call it a V1 body. There is they did do some upgrades to the body after a while on the basic buck. But these guys, fantastic. When they came out of the gate, firing on all guns, beautiful figures, jaw-dropping paintwork, details. Like, for a Warhammer fan, it was just a dream come true to see these guys. I mean, I've always wanted them in this scale. And, now I'm getting them. But incredible detail. I mean, I think they all came with a helmet plus a bear head.
Yeah. So
you've got plenty of variety. I mean, even though they all kind of look the same, there's enough differences. Yeah. So that's your basic intercessor. This is your bread and butter Marine, right? This is what you're going to find. These are a little different. These are your reconnaissance of saboteur types.
We're gonna go into that in a minute. So I'm going to get sorry, before we do that, I'll get you to open that. We'll leave that guy over there. I'm just going to talk about a few things when he gets his Paragon suit on. So we'll definitely talk about that. Okay. So sorry. I want to say one thing while Simon is opening that Paragon suit. I want to discuss the significance of chapters in a 40k lore, but we will also compare some of the notable armor designs as well as marking for Space Marines. You will see on various Space Marines there are different things like Aquilas and we have certain insignias as well, and then I'm going to get Simon to talk about the insignias on there. Now, in the 40k universe, Space Marine chapters are autonomous and self-contained military organizations, as you can tell. They are the core units of what we mentioned before, the Adeptus Astartes. Okay, the superhuman warriors known as Space Marines. Now, each chapter is a highly specialized and independent fighting force, consisting of 1,000 or so elite Space Marines led by a chapter master. Actually, we have a couple of heroes here, but I didn't end up opening them because there's just way too much. Chapters are basically created from one gene seed and the genetic material derived from the original prime marks of the Space Marine legions. You want to elaborate on that a bit as far as gene seed's concerned, dude? Yeah, let's talk about gene seed and genetic.
Right.
Yeah.
So a Space Marine is basically a man filled with steroids and 20 new organs. Those organs are created from gene seed.
Yeah.
So it's just like basically a DNA type recipe, which they grow new organs from and then implant them into the new recruits.
Yeah.
Now, that gene seed was created 10,000 years ago by the Emperor as a way of sort of speeding up the development of Space Marines. Before they become a full Space Marine, they get implanted with the organs. Then they get these two other organs, these things it's like a DNA sponge, and it soaks up DNA. I'm not a biologist. I don't know how feasible any of this is, but that soaks up DNA from the organs, and then that DNA sponge is used to create the next batch of organs. Okay. So each Space Marine begets the next generation.
It kind of influences their physical and psychological traits as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Look, over 10,000 years, I mean, if you're getting deep into it, there's some talk about whether the Emperor had planned for Space Marines to last this long, or whether he would have culled them all after the Great Crusade had finished. But exist they did, and some of the gene seed has mutated. Some of it doesn't work anymore in certain chapters. Some of it has gone a bit funny, like in certain Blood Angels successor chapters, they have an unnatural craving for blood and stuff like that. Hence the name of some people like the Flesh Tearers or the Blood Drinkers, all very friendly names.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see chapters maintain their own distinct heraldry, traditions, and combat doctrines, which we'll discuss a bit in a bit more detail. But the primary purpose of Space Marine chapters is to protect and defend the Imperial Man from various threats, such as Xenos, heretics, and chaos forces. They all operate under the authority of the High Lords of Terra and the Adeptus Terra. Tell us a bit about the High Lords.
Well, at one point, the Emperor walked as a man. He was the most powerful psychic ever in human history.
Yeah.
He walked as man, united the planet, Great Crusade, created an empire. Then you get into the kind of biblical stuff. That's where he created 20 Primarchs. These were
that's a fascinating
humans of great, well, not human. These were genetically created people. They were to be the generals of the armies. They were in some parts magical. I mean, for want of a better word. But then they had what's called the Horus Heresy. Now, this is basically Horus was the first Primarch.
We're getting really deep cut now, which is good. Yeah,
yeah. He fell to chaos. He took half the Space Marine legions with him and their Primarchs. At this time, there were only 20 different Space Marines, like hundreds of thousands of Space Marines per legion.
Yeah.
They lost. Emperor was crippled, ended up some sort of vegetable. They put him on this psychic amplifier / life support machine called the Golden Throne. The Emperor hasn't spoken in 10,000 years. He's pretty much a corpse. All they know is that the psychic lighthouse, which guides spaceships through the warp, works because he sits on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes he does miracles, but since the status quo has changed, it's been stated that he is alive and 2 of the Primarchs have returned. So
okay.
It's an exciting time to be a Warhammer.
Before we put the Paragon suit on there, sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm all over the shop tonight because I'm trying to run the show as well as operate all the cameras and switch. I want to talk a bit more about chapters and then we'll move on to the Paragon suit. So chapters are responsible for recruiting and training new Space Marines, equipping and maintaining their own fleets, and conducting military campaigns across the galaxy. They often have specialized units. We'll look at some of those units later on. We did say there was the infiltrators and cursors, the reavers, as well as the standard intercessors, and the traditions that differentiate them from each other. Now, each chapter has a symbol of the Emperor's might. They're all quite unique, and they represent the pinnacle of human warfare in that universe. And they have unwavering loyalty and sort of indomitable courage and superhuman skill because they are all pumped up with steroids and shit like that. So
and belief.
Yes, correct. And religious belief, right? As well. Like
absolutely. I'll just point out, like after that Horus Heresy business, they drove the bad traitor legions out.
Yeah.
Hence these guys.
Yeah.
They fled to an area called the Eye of Terror, which was surrounded by warp storms and Chaos God's influence, where it's like they raid and come out. Time doesn't flow naturally from there. Yeah. But the loyalist legions who remained, it was decided in the wake of what had happened that the power of a Space Marine Legion was too much for one person to command. So they broke them up into the chapters.
Yeah.
So each chapter is 1,000, give or take, Marines.
Yeah.
And all the Space Marine Legions were broken up. Imperial Fists here and Ultramarines were 2 of the original legions. They've got many spin-off chapters. The Black Templars are a successor chapter of the Imperial Fists.
Don't forget with the Salamanders as well.
Well, the Salamanders were an original chapter too.
Correct.
Yep. They're not a successor.
Yeah.
But these guys wanted to rebuild. A specific captain in his company said, "The hell with that. We're still crusading. It ain't over yet." And became Black Templars.
What about the White Scars?
White Scars were an original one. A lot of the original legions have analogs in human history.
Mm.
The white scars are Genghis Khan and his hordes.
Yep.
These are the Romans.
Yes. I love it. I love there's a sort of comparative
Well,
almost reference.
What people have to remember, back when this game was first created,
Yeah.
or the world was starting given shape, almost without fail, everyone at Games Workshop, they were all university students, archaeology and history professors.
Yes.
So like they had like the guy who came up with it, Rick Priestley, the main writer. Yeah, he had like an advanced degree in archaeology and ancient history. So it was just borrowing. They thought if we were going to extrapolate in 40,000 years in the future, let's grab a little bit of this, that, and then mash it all together and see what we come up with. So,
and you know, I got to say, and I'm not trying to be facetious here, but some people are very critical of the 40k for the Warhammer universe, and I'm going like, man, guys, chill. If you want freaking science fiction, you have such a combination of all different things.
Whatever you love, you'll find someone who doesn't. Who
exactly.
cares,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm here to celebrate the positive, not dwell on the negative stuff.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you.
I know what I like. I'm not going to complain about it, you know.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Okay, so why I keep cutting to black.
I'm containing myself because I really
know.
want you to have a look at this.
Let's look at the.
Before I show this off, can I just pass this to you, Clinton, and say, is this die cast in there?
Holy!
Look at the joints.
Wait, you know what?
Is this die cast? Have we finally got some die cast in one of these things? Look at the ankles there and the knees.
Oh my goodness! No, I don't think they're they're not die cast.
Are you sure?
I can't. I'm trying to.
That sounds happy.
You know,
we got a magnet here.
Okay. I got to tell you, I wasn't fully convinced to start with, looking at just the pictures.
That's metal.
Wasn't fully convinced when I was looking at the pictures. But then now when I've got it in hand, yeah, they're just going from strength to strength. Joytoy are killing
this one on the table. This
put
is
it
fantastic.
on. Put it on.
So what we got here is basically a big. Imagine the power loader from Aliens, right? But with a nun. It's 10,000 years ago and is now a religious icon. This is basically what we got here. Remember, the sisters are just normal humans with incredible amounts of faith. So when they're going up against, 7-foot tall demons or, again, giant orcs, sometimes they need a little bit of an equalizer.
Oh, Katie could probably have to come around and grab that for us. Thanks. So that's right. That's right. Let Katie do it. Let Katie do it. Simon.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Let's get
look, when you've got this many figures out on this. Okay,
let's it's okay, we've got
this one is a little bit top heavy. I'm trying to get a good pose on it, see what we can do. Let's
try and get that down. Let's get that. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, but
it's gonna happen.
I think I've got it.
It's gonna happen. There we go. Okay,
I've knocked over a lot of stuff.
That's all right. That's why I think leaning over is not a good idea. Come on, you know this. Come on, man. You're not a
look. It's not your first rodeo.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I'm working from an odd angle and trying to reach over.
Not your first rodeo, buddy. I think we have a little.
I think that's the map from the
map.
Guardsman.
Can we grab the map off the floor? That's the map. Funny.
That's a lovely little detail. He does come with a map.
Now let's put the map on the table. That's fine. Yeah, just there. It's fine. Okay, tell us a bit about Paragon suit. Let's go.
Oh, what's to say? It's an armored suit, an up-armored exoskeleton for a sister to offer a bit of heavy support. This is for taking out support weapons, characters. It's a bit of an equalizer because, like I said, the sisters are just human. They have the same frailties as me or you.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you're going to fight a 7-foot tall, demonically possessed genetic Superman. You probably need a little bit of an equalizer, and that's the equalizer right there.
Equalizer. So
they got giant flamethrowers, giant sword, storm bolters up there, firing out 1 million shots a second.
Now, quickly, I noticed where the loincloth is, there's also like a little insignia. That isn't the
fleur-de-lis.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good.
Everyone knows what it is. It's a French thing. You've seen it on the Boy Scouts insignia.
Insignias also cool. Brilliant. Okay.
They said these borrow from all over the place. 1,000,001 influences go behind the design.
Shall we talk a bit about the various parts, dress symbols, markings, and also all the
Sure.
equipment that? Oh, so I mean the suits in general.
Well, when it comes to the equipment that a Space Marine has, it's almost treated like a religious icon. Like these suits are revered as holy. Like I said, a lot of technology, the actual workings of it have been forgotten. They don't quite know how it works. They can't replicate it. They've got machines like 3D printers, shall we say. Like you can tell it to make something and it'll make a working version, but they don't quite understand, the mechanisms behind it.
Yep.
So it's a lot easier to repair older stuff than it is to build new stuff in the Warhammer world. So, like I said, these things will be handed down from Marine to Marine over thousands of years. Some of these suits have existed for. And in that time, they've got different markings. Heraldry is very important. Like I said, they're very much like a knightly order. So their heraldry, you never see them using camouflage or anything like that. They're very proud of their colors. From our way of thinking, military is all about, sneaking around in camouflage and not getting shot. Well, the fact of the matter is, there's not a gun on Earth that could penetrate one of these suits right now. Maybe some sort of surface-to-air missile could do something, but...
Okay, well, saying that, the Necrons have different types of firepower. So on the Saltec...
The Necrons have the sort of firepower which will, cut through a Marine. Like I said, it strips things on a molecular level.
So they had the carbines. What else did they have?
You've got Tesla carbines, Gauss flares, and these are the most basic weapons for a Necron, and they are light years ahead of anything that humanity got.
Yeah,
humanity, as I said, your basic trooper gets something called a lasgun or flashlights, as they're known amongst the fans of Warhammer, because they're pretty weak. But when 1,000,000 of them fire in someone's face at once, that's their strength.
Okay.
These guys, this is the basic bolt gun on a Marine that fires what we'd call, I don't know, like a 50mm explosive grenade, but just like bullets. So it's just firing grenades constantly in people's faces that explode. It will drill in for about 10 inches and then explode inside them.
Okay.
Chainsaws abound for everyone. No one. You'll notice there's a lot of swords here. Right? These are power swords that vibrate at 10 million miles an hour with a monomolecular edge that'll cut through anything, or they're giant chain swords with teeth that just chew through things for close combat. I mean, this guy's got a giant hammer. As you can see, the more things change, the more they stay the same in the future.
Before we go to more of the stuff that where it's like I said, dress symbols, markings, and all the parts that are associated with any of these figures here, or whether it's sisters or whether it's the suits or whether it's let's quickly bring out the bad boys now. Let's talk about these big guys.
I'm not even going to bother trying to put this on the turntable, but I'll just clear a little bit of space here in front of me.
Yeah.
Let me just pop those there. I will move this beauty. Wow, that's got some weight to it too.
Let's have a look. Yeah.
I mean, all those joints are definitely die cast. They've got to be.
We have to double check. We have to double check. And speaking of die cast, and speaking of wonderful sponsors here, I'm going to go to our messages for the sponsors, and we'll be right back in 2 seconds.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got here?
So, what we got here are dreadnoughts. Basically, if a Marine is ever damaged in battle beyond his body being able to be repaired with bionics, basically what we have here is the drug-addicted bad guy from RoboCop 2 in a suit.
Drug-addicted.
You remember the guy? They had him on here.
Yes.
They were trying to recreate RoboCop. This is basically a brain and nervous system attached into a massive armored platform.
Let's take the turntable away and put the guy. See whether we can squeeze him. I know it's getting a bit crazy, but
I'll just demonstrate. These are incredibly articulated for their size. And I'm going to have to say, I consider these to be pretty good value for the amount of plastic and ratchets you are getting on these bad boys.
Yeah.
So you got ratchets on the feet. You've got
It's
ratcheted legs back and forwards. The toes all move.
how much are you paying for that?
I got this for 170. 170.
Yep.
Am I allowed to say from who?
Yeah, I mean, Cool Toys Club is the place.
Well, I got these in the past from Sugo Toys in Australia.
Yes, definitely. But these are available.
There
also.
were very few outlets for Joytoy when it started in Australia.
Let's bring the guy forward so we can get them in in shot.
He's got his giant plasma cannon, which fires giant balls of superheated plasma. We have a giant claw. We've got articulated fingers. He's got a nice little assault cannon. Again, you can get a really good range of motion. You've got the little missile launcher on top. I'm just going to pop. You can see you can open up this part.
That is incredible.
And this is basically a life support coffin where the remains of a little Marine.
Let's get him to stand for a minute. Let's see whether we can get him to.
Sure.
Just watch the table because you.
I've just got. Like I said, they're pretty stiff ratchets.
Yeah.
But you have no problem once you get it all straightened out.
Yeah. I think that front toe on the right foot needs to go down. There we go. There we no. That's
like I said, I'm trying to do this from behind.
Turn it around. Yep. As in face you, put it on the table and sort it out, and then we can because I want the audience to check it out. I want the audience to check it out. It's worth there we go.
Obviously, you're going to get this in a much more dynamic pose than what I've got going here.
Yeah, you don't want to pull him back a bit, just a smidge. That's it. And see if he will stand.
I'm doing a really bad job of this, aren't I?
I think he needs to lean backwards. That's it. He needs to lean backwards. And I think a little
knee pad popped
off. Again, how much roughly?
170 I paid for this, but I have seen it for much higher prices.
Let me do this thing.
Yeah. I'll just put this one that's already set up.
All right. Let's do that. There you go. Okay, let's check that out. Tell us a bit about. Sorry, I'm keep fading to black. Tell us a bit about this dreadnought. Part of which faction again? Please.
This is the Imperial Fist dreadnought.
Yep.
I will say, like, the designs we're seeing now for the Space Marines actually changed about 4 years ago when they done 8th edition of the game came in. There's a guy, as I said, Primarchs came back from the dead. They decided to move the status quo forward and start moving the story forward.
Yep.
So a guy, a very high priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus, brought back the Primarch of the Ultramarines, Robert Gilliman.
Yep.
He also apparently, coincidence would have it that 10,000 years ago, the Primarch of the Space Marines gave him a mission to design a better Space Marine with new equipment. And no one ever heard about this up until he popped into the story and go, oh, remember me? I've spent the last 10,000 years designing an upgraded Space Marine and armor.
Wow.
Yeah. It is what it is. It was economically, it was time to revamp the range. Like, if you'd been collecting for the 30 years, you probably had every Space Marine and really didn't need to buy any more.
Yep.
A cynical man would say it was time to wipe the board clean and get everyone to replace their Space Marine army.
Yeah.
But I'm not a cynical man.
You're not.
They just wanted to, change things up.
You're not a cynical man.
Not
at
a
all.
cynical man at
all. Shall we close on maybe the Space Marines, because I think we want to go through a couple of other things. The Reavers are there, and shall we talk a bit about the differences between infiltrators, incursors, intercessors?
It's not a huge difference.
Not a bit difference. Yeah.
Space Marines, while they are masters of all forms of warfare, they do tend to specialize. Certain formations within a chapter will specialize.
Yeah.
So you've got your line troopers. These are your
intercessors.
backbone, the intercessors.
Yeah.
These are your reconnaissance, shock troops, saboteurs, assassins. They have a lighter mark of armor. They're a lot more mobile, a lot quicker to move.
And close quarters as well.
Yeah.
More close quarters, definitely.
Definitely.
The Reavers. And this offering came in a pack of 3. Well, some of the other intercessor squads came in a pack of 4. And then the incursors and infiltrators also came in a pack of 4. So yeah,
there's good value on some of those packs. It's a nice way to have instantly have a squad.
Very, very much so.
I mean, they've done the same with the Black Templars. This was a squad of 4, so you got kind of 2 chains. I mean, everyone came with a big gun and a chainsword, and just I've set these up, more close quarters, support with the gun. And this guy's got a massive flamethrower.
There you go. Cool. Yes. So don't forget, you are getting rid of some Joytoy stuff.
I have to slim down the line. I was trying to buy every flavor of Space Marine, but
every flavor.
I've decided that my Space Wolves have to go. My Vikings in space.
Well, let's talk a bit about the Space Wolves, and let's give people a bit of an education on that. So how do they differ from, let's say, the Salamanders or the Standard Marines or the
Picture a Viking.
Yes.
Picture him wearing armor.
Yeah,
that is a Space Wolf.
And again, it's
they come from a world of ice and hardship, and they are literally Vikings who have a very close affinity to wolves.
Yeah, cool. So you're selling those?
I'm popping them. I've got one of these type of things. I've got the Vindicator suit.
Yeah,
which I'm going to get rid of. And
actually, that's more a war suit rather than a.
That's definitely a war suit that a living pilot can get in and out of.
Correct.
Rather than have his brain stuck in a jar and then pop in it.
Just again for our audience, difference between a dreadnought and a war suit. So quickly, you said
the dreadnought contains the remnants, the still living remnants of a Marine whose body is shattered beyond belief. His brain and nervous system is hardwired into this, and he lives again as a machine.
And what you see there is essentially
exactly the same, but for a different chapter.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, man, there's so many things we could. We could go on and on and on and on about it.
I mean, the trouble it's hard for me sometimes because I've been absorbing this for years. 40 years.
Yes, correct.
And it just starts spilling out. And you try and frame it what was happening in the world at the time, why they created this. Because sometimes in the early days, a lot of stuff, again, it was a lot more lighthearted, a lot more satire. Then Games Workshop got really serious.
Yeah.
And that the grimdark was what was selling. And so the game just ramped up, in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, there is only one. And that is where the term grimdark comes from. They invented it.
But remember, we are also a gateway drug for all your collecting habits. So that's why I kind of want, that's why I think for those that are not quite initiated with 40K lore, it's nice for them to say, so if someone says to me, what should I buy? I would recommend picking something basic first. So like I said, the bread and butter Ultramarines, the blue guys, they're stock standard, right?
You can't go, what's your aim? Do you like to build armies? Well, Marines are your thing. You can find a color you like. Do you really have to know anything about them to say, this is a great looking toy? I would like a couple of these. You get a couple and then you can look into it.
You don't.
But they're just fantastic toys. They're amazing.
Yes.
These things look incredible on a shelf. They can pose up despite my clumsy fumblings with them. They're great. There's also, there are other vehicles that are out. There's the bikes.
Yes.
There's assault bikes, which are monstrously large, huge motorbikes. There's there's like a Mario Kart on steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just crazy. I don't know for sure, but I know I think me and you saw a while ago on, is it Weibo?
Well,
the Chinese Instagram type thing.
Yes.
There were some prototypes of real vehicles, they're like troop transports, like Rhino tanks, and I haven't heard anything else about them, so I don't know. But I've got to think the line's doing well. Look, just the growth.
Absolutely.
Said, every month there's something new now. There's a new release.
So if I can entice people to get into it, and if you want to go to
just check out Cool Toys Club. Go on there. Just have a look.
Yep.
He's got everything listed. All the new pre-orders. Fantastic place. Great prices.
Yes.
Just go and have a look and see what takes your fancy. Buy one.
Yeah.
Just one.
Absolutely.
It always starts with one.
Look at how many we've
Yeah, I
got.
started with one. And now
I
the
hope.
sad thing is that I could only bring a little fraction.
I know.
Like
I know.
I've got, for me, I love the the Imperial Fist. Sorry, but I love the lore behind them. I love the story. They've been main players throughout the Imperium's history. I like what they stand for.
Yeah.
Like these guys are all about duty, honor, loyalty above all. Stand to the last man. They had the best Primarch, Rogel Dawn, who manned the walls of terror during the siege. I just love them.
Do you know one thing we didn't talk about tonight? We spoke about every other faction, but we didn't talk about the Blood Angels.
Hey, flavor Space Marines who are possessed by a black rage, and their Primarch's dead.
Yeah.
His death was so horrible, it's psychically imprinted on all of his descendants, his gene children. And to this day, in the heat of battle, if things just get a little bit too heated, they will start to imagine themselves as Sanguinius, the Primarch, when he was killed by Horus, and they will be filled with rage. That's where they will get put into the Death Company, because these guys are going to die, but at least they put them into this separate company because they become bloodthirsty, frothing madmen, lose all sense. So they keep them separate and let them die on the battlefield by throwing them into the thickest of the fighting.
There you go. So, look, before we go, I think we've done a pretty. I mean, it's one of these.
We've just touched the surface.
We did.
We could have spent an entire show just talking about these guys,
correct,
or these guys, or these guys.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's endless.
We're all over the place too because we've got so much to talk about, and I'm so enthusiastic about this stuff. I'm bouncing all over the place.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's been a wonderful episode. I mean, it's pity that Andrew had to go.
You know what the biggest crime is? Talon wasn't here. Like, if only we'd done this tomorrow, he could have been here, man.
Yeah, I know. But tomorrow we got the setup for CollectorCon.
Let's hope we're going to plug CollectorCon. If any of you are in the Sydney area, in Western Sydney, on Sunday, 9 a.m., Cambridge Park basketball courts.
Yep.
I cannot remember the name of the street off the top of my head.
Oh, God.
If you Google
online.
Cambridge Park basketball courts, it is the best collector's fair in all of Sydney, in all of New South Wales, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
We got 3 huge basketball courts filled with tables. That's 350 tables of vendors selling everything from vintage toys, current toys, action figures, comics, Pokemon cards. There's wrestling going on. They're running Dungeons and Dragons upstairs. Cosplay. It's such a good day. The Toy Reel guys will be there. We're table 304. 213 in Hall 2.
Yes. In fact, we have 5 tables in a row.
You'll know us because we've all got the matching t-shirts.
Yes, 212, 213. Also, Nick Nicolau will be there next to us as well. So yeah, it's
if any viewers of this channel come to the show, come to my table and say Toy Reel sent me, I will give you a 5% discount on anything on that table.
There you go. And
but
also,
you have to say Toy Reel sent me.
There you go. And also, we have to make sure we give a shout out to Cool Toys Club.
Cool Toys Club, man.
For all your hire toys, Joy Toy, Mythic Legions.
Mythic Legions too.
Yeah.
If you can't get it here, Cool Toys Club have got it.
That's the way to go. So on that note, I'm going to say good night. Thank you very much. Thank you, Simon. This has been awesome. And we're going to leave you with these messages. Feel free. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Once again, thanks for your time and enthusiasm. I love it. Friday night, toys immersed in all this stuff.
For the Emperor.
Amazing. For the Emperor.
This episode of Toy Reel is proudly brought to you by Cool Toys Club and Joytoy World.